October 5th, 2022, officers were dispatched to a complaint of vehicles racing in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
The vehicle is driving in the Sherman and Fairmount area. Unknown description of the vehicle, but the vehicle is recklessly driving in the area. Ongoing issue. Vehicle has been doing all.
However, the incident was quickly upgraded to a major crash involving multiple vehicles. As the first squad arrives on scene, one officer immediately begins directing traffic.
Hey, keep going, bro. Keep going.
While the other heads towards the scene of the accident.
You okay?
The driver of the vehicle is found sitting on the outside of the car on the curb.
Are you okay? He's strapped.
The passenger seems to have been thrown into the back seat of the vehicle.
Fire?
Negative. I'll get your vehicle information shortly.
All occupants are out of the vehicle.
There's one occupant trapped in the black Mercedes. They're trying to get him out right now. Did some of the vehicle or did you climb out? Are you driving this car, man? Are you driving this car, man? Are you driving this black car? What's your last name, bud? Huh?
Oh, my... I can't feel my leg, y'all.
Spell your last name for me. MC M-U-R MC M-C-U-R. Spell your last name for me, man. MC M-U-R T-R T-R-Y. What's your first name? J-I? J-A-Y?
Ow, bro, my arm popping out of place.
J-A-Y? It's okay, just relax. J-A-I. Spell your first name then. J-A-I.
Q-U.
J-A-I-Q-U. A-N-N. Do you have a middle initial? Q.
The officer learns the driver's name is Jaquan Q. McMurtry. After blocking traffic off with cones, the second officer runs to the scene and checks on one of the other vehicles involved in the crash.
Anyone in here? Trapped or not? Yeah. And were you in here by yourself? Yeah? What's hurting right now?
My whole body.
Your whole body? Okay. You got a driver's license or anything on you?
I can't get to it.
Okay, that's fine, bud.
Driver's license.
Okay. Just where were you driving?
Going straight.
Alright. What happened?
They was at the lights up there, right? They stopped at the green light. So I went around them. I was just sitting there. I don't know why. But I just had a feeling something's gonna happen. Then I just looked in my mirror and I checked and I seen the first car fly past me, almost hit me. Then that car, I don't know what happened, and I just got hit.
Did you see where you got hit at first?
It came from the back.
Oh, what's your address?
Bro.
What's your address? What's your address, man?
Oh my God, bro,
was this young man in this car right here?
Yeah, he was in this car.
Okay, do you see where he was sitting?
I think he was the driver.
The driver? Okay, thank you.
The officer shares Jaquan's information to the firefighter. It is immediately apparent that he is suffering from many injuries, and officials soon discover that he will need to be put in a neck brace to prevent further injury. As the officer walks away, you can see the wreckage from the car is scattered all over the road. Reports conducted at a later date determined the car was traveling 109 miles an hour during the street race that caused the accident. A firefighter is seen starting up the jaws of life for the passenger of the vehicle, whose identity is not yet known. The passenger's injuries also appear much more severe than Jaquan's, and so officials focus their attention towards getting him into an ambulance first.
They racing.
So there was racing another car?
Yeah. The other car didn't hit me to the zone. That car hit me from 34. That side.
From that side?
I guess. From the back. And then the other car almost hit me from this side.
Okay.
So as soon as I seen that car almost hit me, I kind of, got over a little bit. So I'm looking in my other mirror, seeing the other car.
You want to go to the hospital? Yeah? Yeah. Yes.
Mom. Can you walk? I don't know. I haven't got off the car. I'm hurt. Mom. Sorry.
Is the car?
I understand.
No!
Uncle Black.
I need to make sure he's completely good. I don't care.
Sir, can you just tell us you're good? I'm over there by Uncle Black. It's Uncle Black is over there. I'm not saying he's involved.
This motherfucker is flying.
I understand that. That's why I need to secure the area, okay? Can you just do me a favor? Maybe head
Y'all
out
better
over
do what
there?
y'all gotta do. I'm not playing.
Okay.
It's my fuck. I ain't talking about this. And I was like,
You guys are all gonna have to be over here, okay? We just gotta give them some room, okay? So can you guys step back this way? I know, man, but we gotta keep secure the scene, man. So, to that tree. Alright?
that tree?
As long as, hey, you can be right here. You can be literally right here, okay? I just gotta run to the tree. Alright? So can you all get on this side, please?
You take up space now.
I know, man, but hey, we gotta try to keep a little bit. That I don't know. I just got here, so. Alright?
Wait, it wasn't no other driver?
I have one over there. Just came straight to your car. Just that car. Man.
That's the car that hit me.
Hey guys, sir, can you guys just stand over on that side of the tree, man? I appreciate it, man. We're sending an ambulance to come take you there.
That's my baby and I'm my truck. That's my motherfucking car.
Is that Macy?
You okay?
Well, just so you guys know, I'm not the guy over here. It's his family member. He's doing okay. He's going to end up taking him to the hospital.
Okay.
He was just worried he wanted to come in, and I'm like, I'm told I'll let you get tackled by the cops.
I understand, man. So, you're here for this guy, correct, sir? Okay. I just gotta make sure when the officer comes back that we got his info and all that before you guys head out, okay? I understand, man. I just wanted to let you know so you guys don't rush out of here and all that without at least us getting some info.
Okay, I'll
So, okay, no problem, man. I appreciate it.
7279.
Hey, Bryson.
Alright, the foreign area reported in. So far it's just 2 fractured ankles and a fractured wrist, but obviously we don't know anything else themselves.
Hey, Mac, did you get dude's info? Okay, because his family member's here, so I just wanted to make sure that we got his info.
Hey, but you gotta go on the other side.
No,
too.
he's here. Hey, he's here for him. So.
No, I know. We put mom over there too right now.
Okay.
My sergeant got you outside the thing, but
Alright, well, I'm gonna go back home.
okay, I appreciate it, man. Listen, even his mom, we put outside, man.
Okay,
It's just for our safety. Him make sure we get.
check on him, man.
I know. We just gotta make sure we get his treatment, get him out, and make him
Okay,
make sure
that's
he get
fine.
checked on. All right.
That's fine.
I appreciate it, man.
Alright, thank you. And MFD did let him in, so that's why I was like, I appreciate it.
Yeah, even mom, we moved out.
This officer takes a closer look at the wreckage and reveals just how far the tree pushed into the car. It appears the trunk of the tree is just touching the base of the front row seats. It is a miracle either occupant was able to get out of the vehicle at all.
Can you get out on that side? You won't be able to move right now, man. Not right now. We got med rigs and stuff coming in. You can't leave right now.
It's a large quantity of marijuana. That guy you're not going to get a lot of answers from. He's in. Okay. But somebody
should probably ride in the back with them when they go. I gotta go, bud. Gotta go, I'm coming. I gotta go. Make sure you sign this. That's fine. Yeah. I gotta look at that.
Is that your last name, bud? McCarthy?
I'm on the squad. Please take this off. Please take this off, please.
What's your last name, bud?
Please.
Leave it on. Leave it on.
You gotta leave this home, man. You gotta leave it home. Please. I can't breathe. Just call right here. Call console and have them ready to get you out. My heart. Come on, please take it off. But my heart is my chest. It's my chest, but please. Please, my heart. It's giving out. But it hurt, but it's giving out on me, but please help me. Alright, my heart, get out. Alright, come on. Just 1 second, we're getting in. You're gonna get you in the car, alright? What is this? You don't know? So who is this guy? They don't even know who is this guy? He's the passenger of the BMW. He's not talking anything right now. He's going in and out. So let me just let them wait on him, and then once we get there, we'll get him together. That's what the boss was just telling me about.
Yeah, there's some more right in the center console area. Then he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 5 phones. 6 phones. Come over this way. Let's take a bag of weed. That's in my wagon already. He just had a big piece of glass in his skull. Okay, all that's suds now. So the passenger apparently has like a big piece of plastic with glass in his skull. So that's why he's going in and out of conscious, so it could be a serious.
At the hospital, this officer searches the bag that belongs to the driver of the vehicle. The officer started the search after medical staff told him they saw a small bag of weed through the opening.
Do I have like, that might be time off. Y'all got like Narcan and stuff, right? On hand?
What, you want to pop this up?
No, I'm just, these ass suspects are off. Hey dude, are you still at work? You better come back to the hospital, dude. This kid's got like a fucking fistful of crack, dude.
Oh, did I miss that too?
This dude's bag is full of drugs, dude.
I missed the whole
It's in the prisoner property thing. He had like a little, he's got like a little gram of weed, but then when I opened up the backfill bag, he's got a bunch of corner cuts all wrapped up. And it's like, there's a tan substance, there's a white substance, there's a rocky substance, like this dude was dealing.
I'm just absolutely, wow, I missed a lot.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you. Like this is.
I just opened it up and I saw a little one very loud. I was like, oh, that's
Yeah, like a shitload, dude. It's in this little fanny pack. I'll describe it to you. Yeah, dude, he's got like dude, it's like if you balled up your fist, he's got like a bag, and then inside are like 3 separate bags. One's got a bunch of rocks. The other one's got like some like tan, like it looks like Parmesan garlic colored. You gotta come back and get this stuff, bro.
excited?
Yeah, quite a bit.
Crazy. It's not doing anything, officer.
Yeah, like,
Hi.
fentanyl.
What is it?
I don't know if there's fentanyl in it.
That's a lot of shit. Do you think the salmon's are real? Oh, it's a girl.
No, I gotta babysit some drums that want to see that. Thank God. And they wanted me to inventory. Yeah, you want me to sit up here with crack and heroin for 12 hours in a hospital room? That's smart.
So help.
I didn't small amount. A small amount.
No.
The money stays in the pocket. Yeah, I just wanted, I counted out just in case they tried anything like that. I didn't know if it went towards the charge of, you know, like distribution.
No, you can't. Not unless it's 5,000 or more.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know, so.
Did it come in that bag or did you put it in that bag?
The drugs?
Yeah.
No, they came in that.
Okay.
I didn't.
So, Buzzy, do me a favor. So you've got your camera on, okay. Just keep the camera on. Just put back into his bag, the money back into his bag. Because that's his property.
Yeah, I got the bag it was located in as well. It was in this one. No, it was in here.
Was it in the bottom?
I guess when nurse was moving it and I was out there, like this part was open and she saw it was in here like this. This part was closed. This was inside here.
Okay.
But yeah, the weed was just like sitting like there. She's like, he's got weed on him. And she was moving the bag to do whatever.
Okay.
So I have to write a report saying that you're the one who found it. Just because the DAs can be like, oh, how did you notice that he had blah, blah, blah. You have to go through the clothes, right?
Correct. So I go through everybody's belongings on admission to see if they have, and then that way they have, let me chart in the computer, so when they leave, they have everything that they need to go through. And I opened just the front pocket of his bag, and I found the weed in the front pocket, and then I didn't look at anything else.
Okay.
And then that's when I left, and I told you, and then you went and looked in the back pocket, and I was like, oh, I missed all the rest of it.
No, it's fine. Yeah, I wouldn't. That's fine. I appreciate it. All right, thank you. You're good.
Jaquan's history with the court and their tactics with bail bonds fussed $1,000 for the charge of possessing a firearm as an adjudicated delinquent in March of 2021. 5 months later, in August of 2021, he would get arrested again for 3 additional charges of possessing a firearm as an adjudicated delinquent and 1 charge of bail jumping. Within a week after his arrest, he would pay a $3,000 cash bond to be released again. Within a few weeks, he got a ticket for operating a vehicle without a valid license, but appears to have not been jailed for that charge. 2 months later, in October of 2021, Jaquan was arrested for possessing 1 to 5 grams of cocaine with intent to distribute and posted a cash bond of $500. Interestingly, it appears the complaint for this charge was not filed until 9 months later in July of 2022, adding confusion to the timeline. It appears that Jaquan then failed to appear in court in August of 2022, resulting in a forfeiture of his $500 cash bond. Days later, after Jaquan appeared in court that same month, they set and post another $500 cash bond for him. In September of 2022, Jaquan's bond was forfeited again, although the Wisconsin court website does not make the reasoning clear, and then they seem to correct themselves at a later date, suggesting they vacated the forfeiture of the cash bond. This makes sense, as this was just a few weeks prior to the events that have taken place in this video, and Jaquan was out on bail at this time. A couple weeks after the events in this video, the court posted another cash bond for Jaquan for $50,000. A week later, a man by the name of Marvel Coleman, a counselor for troubled youth, paid for Jaquan's release. Seemingly, additional bonds were also set for Jaquan's previous charges weeks afterwards, one in the amount of $5,000 and another in the amount of $20,000. These charges were all paid, and the $20,000 bond seemed to be paid for with only $17,000. The next month, Jaquan was back out of jail. At this point, we count 7 instances where the court had the choice between keeping Jaquan in jail or releasing him back to the public, even after charges of second-degree reckless homicide and possession of more than 40 grams of cocaine with intent to distribute. Before the events in this video, Jaquan was already facing numerous charges, which included 4 counts of possession of a firearm by adjudicated delinquent, 1 count of felony bail jumping, 1 count of not carrying a license, 1 count of displaying an unauthorized vehicle registration plate, and 1 count of possession of 1 to 5 grams of cocaine with intent to distribute. Of those charges, he was convicted of 3 counts of possession of a firearm by adjudicated delinquent, 1 count of not carrying a license, and 1 count of displaying an unauthorized vehicle registration plate. For these convictions, he was fined a combined total of $170 and was sentenced for a total of 1 year and 9 months in prison, along with 1 year probation. 1 count of possession of a firearm by adjudicated delinquent and 1 count of felony bail jumping was dismissed. He is still awaiting a verdict and sentencing for his charge of possessing 1 to 5 grams of cocaine with intent to distribute. For the events seen in this video, he is being charged for 1 count of second-degree reckless homicide, 1 count of knowingly operating a vehicle without a license and causing death, 3 additional counts of felony bail jumping for not showing up to his previous court hearings, and 1 count of possessing 40-plus grams of cocaine with intent to distribute. On August 8, 2024, Jaquan was found guilty by a jury trial on 1 count of second-degree reckless homicide, 1 count of operating a vehicle without a license and causing death, and 3 counts of felony bail jumping. He was found not guilty of possessing 40-plus grams of cocaine with intent to distribute. His sentencing for these verdicts will be determined on September 20th, 2020.